The Main Street was a community. Main Street was a town within a town.
When you look at the geography, it's almost like crosshairs, okay? Howard Avenue in Main Street.
I'm just so happy that I grew up here where I grew up, a block and a half from Main Street, across the street from a public school.
What makes Main Street so special is family, faith.
You didn't even lock the front doors or anything as you would now.
Oh, boy. I love Main Street. Just walking down Main Street was a joy.
So, yeah, we walked to Main Street area all the time. Rode my bicycle there all the time.
This was Shangri-La.
I remember when Main Street used to be paradise.
Main Street runs south to the Gulf of Mexico and north all the way to Back Bay, Biloxi, approximately 1.5 miles.
So if you go at 4 or 5 blocks east side of Main Street, you've really got the heart of old Biloxi, black and white community.
But the heartbeat of our thriving black community was situated north of the track, just behind the predominantly white business district of Biloxi. It's where we played, prospered, in a historic neighborhood we call Back-A-Town.
When I would cross the track southbound to go to Howard Avenue to shop, it wasn't as comforting as it was in my area of Main Street.
Greg called it a Shangri-La, and it was. We had everything we needed here in Biloxi and here on Main Street. We didn't have to go nowhere else for anything.
So it was also, like I said, it was a time of the blues, and it was also joyful.
Fun, faith, family, food, free enterprise, and more were interwoven threads of the rich fabric of life on Main Street.
And we all came together as our little community here on Main Street to make something that our children would reflect on when they grew up, that they would have something that they could be proud of by living here on Main Street in Biloxi.
So come with me as we explore the joys, the blues of Biloxi's Black Main Street.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the main studios of WLBG, Channel 3, in living color, the sounds of soul.
I don't ever remember growing up in Biloxi without music. Be it music coming from bands on Main Street or coming out of every house from a record player. Every time you walked past a house with the front porch, there was something in the way of music.
Oh boy, there was a record shop. When you walked down the street, you heard the latest record, the 45s,
Here, there was a constant beat like the cadence of a real good blues song. Throughout Main Street, you were hearing everything from the Drifters to the Ink Spots to the Temptations, and a whole lot of Little Milton, B.B. King, and Bobby Blue Bland.
I was somewhat envious of the Main Street clubs because I really wanted to go there and would have been welcome there.
Okay, Main Street was inundated with juke joints. From right here where we are now to the railroad track was no less than about 7 or 8 juke joints.
Jim Crow was bad. This was the beginning of the end of it. And I think the music helped us at least helped the white people get there. And because young whites and young blacks were all listening to the rhythm and blues, mostly from New Orleans, but the whole region. That was the regional music, and that's what we wanted to imitate, at least the white kids.
Main Street Biloxi was a common stop on the chillin' circuit. This blues trail marker celebrates the clubs that jam to the blues and jazz that made music history.
People would be coming from the laundry, the cleaners, with the outfits that they were going to wear. That night, they would be dressed so, because I had older sisters too, and they getting so dressed up like they were going to church.
And the thing I always remember about Main Street, it's the Black Bourbon Street. And the difference between Main Street and Bourbon Street is that the people on Main Street were dressed better.
Several lounges. There was lounges on both sides of the street. Some of them I did. My favorite ones was the Shalimar, the Blue Note, and the Torch.
Yes, the music was a combination of all genre. You had rhythm and blues, you had soul music, you had dancehall,
down home blues, and then you had jazz. So it encompassed all areas of music. And it was like a melting pot.
Well, yeah, he knew, you know, the Rockin' Rebels. That sort of gave the stream. Bun Blessy taught, through the schools. When he was in the schools, he taught. Bun was a bass player,
and Bum used to come down and do the jam sessions on Sunday at the Torch.
It was inundated with blues up and down this street. Long before rock and roll was a big thing, blues was it.
It wasn't just the blues. Clubs and churches coexisted. It was not unusual to hear Sugar Billy at the Little Apple, while across the street you heard Onward Christian Soldiers.
People would have their windows up and the radios would be on, but all of them playing gospel music, gospel songs.
During the heyday of the music industry, you had a club over here. That club was the Shalimar. Over here, you had the Paradise Gardens. And directly behind the Paradise Gardens was initially the Club Desire that later on became the Torch.
When you left home and came home to visit Mom, oh, you would have to travel down Main Street before you went to Mom's house. I mean, you would slowly ride down Main Street looking from the left to the right, just cruising. As I said, that was our little Bourbon Street, I guess you could say, you know.
Fats Domino's band leader was Dave Bartholomew, great orchestra man, great musician. And we white kids in high school would hire his band to come over and play for proms and balls and things. And we got to know him real well. I mean, he came all through the 50s. My brother, even the older kids did it in the early 50s and the late 50s.
James Brown came to the stadium here in Biloxi when I was in high school. And the corner of the back of that house was right there, right up under the Paradise Garden. So I went to bed on Al Green. When I woke up, I would come out the back door and go up under pecan trees. And I go to those pecan trees and go and reach up at the limbs and pick up the limbs and break them off and bring them down and make me some little drumsticks. Then I'll turn around and go in the back door and go steal my grandmother's pots and pans while she's being a domestic maid and not home. And then I'll come back out and I'll practice what I heard. That's where it all began. A lot of my friends were from the quote-unquote big cities, Chicago, New York, all this kind of stuff. Man, your town ain't got nothing on my hometown. Your hometown ain't got nothing on mine. You come on, go home with me. And I would always time it to get into Biloxi about 11 o'clock on a Friday or Saturday night and go to Main Street, in particular the Blue Note. And it would be people in there just like that. And it got so good, and when I was in college, that I had to put names in the hat to see who was gonna ride home with me.
I think it's through the music that many of us who experienced the blues were able to tolerate it. Whenever there was a problem or you suffered, you whistled while you worked, you hummed a spiritual, or if you had a guitar, you hit a few strings. It was always a melodious environment for a backdrop that in some cases was hostile, but it was always home.
Love, love, love.